Hey guys, welcome back to Whole Life Millionaire. My name is Dan Grieb, and I am here with the world famous Mr. Brian Montgomery, great friend of mine, great businessman, super involved in philanthropic efforts, a great dad, just an all-around super great dude. Super excited to have you in today, so welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Dan. That's quite a lead-in. I hope I live up to the hype.
I think you already have, and the world's going to find out today because I'm going to ask you some really deep questions, okay?
Good. Let's do it.
So, Brian, you and I met through a business partnership.
Correct.
Actually, and you are the president of Commence Logistics. Tell me a little bit about that company.
Sure. We started Commence about 5 years ago, Dan, and we really wanted to make real estate investing simple.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone you talk to wants to be involved in real estate investments, but they don't really know how to do it. So we had this idea, like, let's create our own floor plans. Let's do everything. We'll get the permit for them. We'll pay the bills for the people. We'll build the house. And now through a good relationship we have, we'll even cover the warranty for the first year. And the ultimate goal for Commence was to have our investors make as much money as humanly possible on every transaction. And it's weird, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say that. They're like, well, why don't you make more money? But if my investors make more money, then they're naturally going to build more homes with Commence, which is, the number one goal of business is to stay in business. My friend and mentor, Tony Hartsgrove, told me that, and it's one thing that's resonated. It's like, keep the wheels moving, keep the lights on, keep the families, that work for you employed, and, the money will come.
Wonderful. Love that. Harris Rosen had that philosophy too. You know who that is?
Absolutely.
He would say that, I used to work for him many years ago.
Oh, nice.
And he would say, if my tour and travel hotels fill up, but my convention hotels aren't, transport them over there because I want heads in beds.
Nice.
If someone's heads in a bed, then they'll use our restaurants.
Absolutely.
Then they'll use our bars. They'll take advantage of other activities, and I can keep my people employed. So that sounds like the same philosophy, that people over profit philosophy.
Correct. I mean, that's the culture that we have at Commence, and we're owned by a company called ODC Construction, who's a pretty well-known shell contractor throughout Florida and now the Carolinas. But I've been there for about 12 years, and the culture is family first, live your life. If your kid has a basketball game, or if your kid has 4 lines in a school play, be there, be present. Don't work on a spreadsheet, right? There's more to this than like you said, profit and work. Like, family first. That's truly what's important to me and everyone that I believe on my team.
Well, I think you actually live that, because more than once I've called you up and you said, hey, I'm busy. I'm at my kid's thing.
Yep.
And it was middle of the day.
Right.
So not only are you espousing that to be your values, but you're practicing it so the rest of the people that work for you can see that they have permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I love that. So let's dive deeper into kind of Commence Logistics, and then let's talk about how you got to be the president of Commence Logistics, because normally we start there, but this is cool. We're starting off here.
Yeah, sure.
You found a need in the marketplace, and the need was people are looking to invest.
Correct.
And the typical flipping of homes is what we mostly hear. The infomercial midnight, money down, no money down, buy this. It's so easy, just do it.
Yeah.
But what we've seen is a tremendous amount of failure.
Correct.
Because it involves a level of skill and intricacy that the average person doesn't have.
Absolutely.
And you got to make all those bets.
Right, and you never know what you're going to uncover when you buy a fix and flip, right? You've seen the shows on TV too. They pull the wall down and, everything's rotten behind the drywall. It's funny because that's actually how we started Commence, was with fix and flippers. Mm-hmm. They said, man, I've spent 14 months on this project and I made $8,000 on it. There's got to be something better. And it's like, well, let's build a brand new house for probably the same cost that you put in on this flip, and then you'll make, 20-30% on it, right? And it worked, thank God. Otherwise, that would have been a short-lived endeavor.
So this is a solution. It was born in fixing the fix and flip world.
Correct.
Is give them a better alternative.
Absolutely, and to make it easy too. I mean, I can't harp on how easy we make it for it. I mean, most of our investors never see their house. Mm-hmm. We do have a very cool portal that our tech team has built where you can log in from your phone, your computer, and you see the photos the second my guys upload the photo from the field. But, most of the investors laugh and they're like, Brian sold this house. I never even saw it. Mm-hmm. So it's that easy. You get 5 emails saying, hey, look, we need the money, if, time to pay. And, if you want to be involved, that's great. If you don't want to be involved, even better, really. Let us do our job and make you as much money as we can on that parcel.
Yeah, and it's funny, guys, is that Brian is a friend of mine, but I'm also one of his customers because I actually built 2 houses with you.
Right.
We did one together for a benefit
Absolutely.
house for one of our local charities.
Right.
And that's, where we really built our friendship the most. And then actually, I built one and I'm getting a contract on it today.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I mean, it's really great that we can talk about it, but in real life. Like you can actually go and see the house I built and see the success I've had.
Right.
And it survives market cycles.
Absolutely.
Because it's about how you buy the land. It's about how you structure the process.
Correct.
And if you try to do it on your own, you just will not get the discounts or have the skills, the skilled trades that you need to get it done, right?
That's right. And, we're now to the point where we're not as big as the national guys, right? But we started 308 houses last year,
Wow.
which makes us one of the larger, local builders. So we're starting to pick up buying power. But you nailed it when you said, the expertise, right? Like which drywaller do we use? Which painter, we've been in business for 5.5 years now. So we have a solid trade base. Cycle times are down. And, as an investor, if you're borrowing money, obviously you want to get that, principal paid back so you can collect your cash and hopefully reinvest with Commence again. But over the years, we've just learned how to, trim cycle times, get rid of the vendors that aren't performing, and, just become a better provider for our customers.
So would you say that you are a construction company thinly disguised as like a service company?
Well, the name used to be Commence Logistics. We dropped logistics because it just didn't, flow well. But we are a logistics company, right? We arrange for the lumber to show up. We arrange for the trusses. So we're constantly scheduling and rescheduling. So a little bit of we call it a construction management company, but a logistics company as well, right? Because we're coordinating everything behind the scenes.
And then therefore your investors don't have to.
100%.
Love that. So let's circle back. So like, where did you grow up?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I was probably one of like 17 people born in Rhode Island in 1981. We bounced around the Northeast. My dad worked for AAA.
Okay.
Worked hard, worked his way up. AAA eventually opened up headquarters in Lake Mary. So I think in 1988, I moved down to Lake Mary, and I've been in Central Florida ever since. Lucky enough to go to the University of Florida, where I met my wife now of 16 years.
Rock on.
I better get that number right, Dan.
Yes.
It's 16. Went to UF and kind of stumbled into the home building industry. I was working in China, actually, as part of a master's program. And my visa expired. The internship kind of ran up, and my parents said, "Come on home. You'll find a job." So I moved back, couldn't find a job. A buddy of mine from grad school said, "Hey, come to this Pulte Homes. They're throwing out money at all these division meetings, and they'll hire you." And luckily they did. And that was about 22 years ago. Started my career in the residential home building sector. Along the way was fortunate enough to get hired by ODC Construction. That's probably the best thing that's happened to me professionally. But personally, right along the way, which is, I think, more important, my wife and I married 16 years. We now have 3 children. I have an 8-year-old daughter and then 2 twin daughters that are 6. So it's exciting at the Montgomery house. We do have 2 guy dogs. Everybody asks that question, like, "Oh, are you the only guy?" Well, kind of, but so it's hectic. But like you mentioned, I'm a father and a husband, and to me, that's more important than being the president of Commence. What I instill in my children, and how I treat my wife. That's really what's going to mean, it's priceless in the long term.
Yeah, so you're thinking legacy at a young age. I mean, how old are you?
44.
So you're 44 years old. I mean, you're actually kind of and you started at 39 at Commence?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you start originally as the president?
I was the VP of operations. I'll never forget this meeting. Tony is my boss and a friend of mine. And then there were 2 owners of ODC. And both of them were in town, and they kind of just stopped in and they said, "Hey, BMO, what's going on?" Everybody calls me BMO, even my parents. And I showed them what we had built at Commence and, the backlog that we had, all the homes under construction. And I don't think they realized what, we had been building. And I say we because I was not the only one involved in this. And then, they left and came back and they said, "Hey, you're now the president of Commence Logistics." So it was awesome. I remember I called my wife, and that was probably about 4 years ago. And since then, it's been great. I mean, challenges, of course, right? We're in the home building industry. We build things that are man-made, and you rely on countless other people to do it and deliver. You work with a number of municipalities. Each has their own intricacy and specific requirements, and we figure it out. We have a core principle at ODC and Commence, and it's just get shit done. I don't know if I can say that.
You can.
But we do, right? We don't make excuses. We figure it out. Like you have the painting of the bull that runs through the storm. That's the kind of people we are. We don't run away from things. We figure it out because that's what people pay us to do, right? And that's the kind of people we are.
Yeah. Well, I've worked with a lot of builders.
Yeah.
And I've rarely found a culture like yours where the people are actually really helpful. There's a spirit of teamwork
Right.
that really exists. And at 39 years old, you become the kind of president of this company.
Right.
Sounds a little young to have that much wisdom. Where did that come from?
You know, I have a great mentor, great people in my life, right? Starting from my dad, like I said before, he was a hard worker, provider, but one thing about him is he was always there, right? He was my little league coach. I played college lacrosse. He was always at away games. He was at home games. So just being present, and he taught me a lot of things. You know, one thing I'll remember for forever is that anything worth doing is worth doing well. Mm-hmm. And he just drummed that into my head. And, professionally, like I mentioned Tony before, there's a number of people along the way that I just watched and listened to. And made a lot of mistakes along the way, right? We all do. And you just have to pick yourself up and not do them again, hopefully. But I kind of just watched Tony and did what he was doing. And luckily it's kind of worked out.
Love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I mean, failure is the pathway to success.
Absolutely.
You don't succeed your way to success. You fail your way to success.
100%.
How are you? I mean, you've got a lot of like young men and women working for you, like what we call emerging talent. They're not proven. They weren't already winning somewhere else. You've brought them in and they're emerging talent.
Right.
How are you teaching them that failure is okay? Because that's a hard one.
You know, it's not funny, but we can laugh about it now. But whenever someone on my team makes a mistake, it costs money, right? It's it's a pretty significant mistake, but a lot of the younger folks get upset. They hide the mistake, try to sweep it up, and you just have to tell them bluntly. It's like, guys, I mess up 15 times a day. You just don't see it, right? Your boss messes up 15 times a day. You don't see it. It's okay to make mistakes. The key is don't do it again and learn from this, right? We have great managers. You've worked with, Juliana and Jim directly.
Yep.
That are experienced people and kind people that care about them. I think of the Commence team as like my family, right? We're more than colleagues. We're friends. They know my wife's names, my kids' names. I know their dogs' names. It's more than just a, hey, good morning relationship, but coaching and teaching and encouraging people to make decisions. I think that's what brings the next group of leaders aboard. I mean, so many people come to a stop and can't make a decision, but if you can make a decision, even if it's the wrong one, that's okay. You decided and you acted on it. That's great.
Yeah, I love that. And so, what I'm hearing you say, because a lot of the people that are going to watch this are entrepreneurs, salespeople, they're like you and I, is that you wove into this idea of failure, this culture of communication.
Correct.
That, hey, I'm going to communicate downward. Hey, listen, this is how the boss is messing up. So you can feel comfortable coming up, and you've eliminated that from that God factor in your business, which is something as dads, we got to be really careful of with our kids, because our kids see us winning. You are the rising star right now, whether you like it or not.
Right.
You're the rising star of division presidents of builders. Everyone's watching you. I tell you that often, and I'm sure you appreciate that. But your children are watching too.
Right.
And they're seeing dad on TV, dad being given an award, dad's winning, dad's winning.
Right.
And they don't get a chance to see you fail as much. And it's really up to us as fathers to tell our children, hey, I messed up with you. Yeah. Here's how I messed up today. So they realize the standard is not perfection.
Correct.
How are you weaving that into your family?
Well, luckily I was part of a men's group at a church, and there were some older folks there that, older fathers, and we met every Tuesday morning, and I learned a lot because you're right, I wanted to be Superman. And I think for the first couple of years, I acted like I never failed, but I tell my kids when I make a mistake, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Dad shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Apologize to kids, right? Mm-hmm. And like I said, I used to play lacrosse, and we had a championship game, and hey, Dad, did you win? No, Dad and his team didn't win. Like, wait, you didn't win? Yeah, no, we didn't. You don't win every time. So I think just communicating to them honestly too, and the most important thing for me too is, as a father of 3 girls, is how I treat my wife. Mm-hmm. because eventually that's how they'll expect to be treated.
Yeah.
I try to hold my wife on a pedestal. If she's watching, I hope you agree. But I love my wife. She's a super mom. I don't know how she keeps the family together. Her job is much more important than mine and much more difficult than mine. But if I treat my wife this way, then my daughter should be expected. They should expect to be treated this way. So for me, that's my biggest challenge. And encourage them to grow along the way and be themselves.
Yeah. So when you say that, there's two sayings that like resonate with me. Do you mind if I share them with you?
Absolutely, please.
One of them says, if you want your wife to know that you love her, love her children.
Right.
If you want your children to know that you love them, love their mother. And that's really a great saying. And it seems like you're practicing that already. That's beautiful.
It's, I got a card from, at school in kindergarten, they do my dad's hair color is brown. He's 76 years old. But the one thing that both of the twins said is, my dad always says, and they wrote in, I love you. So to me, that's, chokes me up a little bit because they know I care. And that's just awesome.
Yeah, well, that ties in the second quote I was going to share with you, and hopefully I'll get it right. To your daughter, you will be their first male love.
Right.
Your daughters will be your last female love.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
That's actually, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's true, right?
Right, but the thing about that is the example.
Right.
Right? When you are a man that's strong,
right,
caring, giving, has high standards, your daughter most likely will seek after men that are strong,
right,
caring, loving, and have high standards.
Right.
And it's the absentee of the conversations. It's the uncomfortable conversations. And the facts are this. The weakness of our country is the weakness of our fathers.
Right.
You don't hear about a lot of women running away from their families.
That's
you
true.
just don't.
That's true.
I mean, when you find a single dad, you go, all right, either that person's spouse passed away,
right,
or the woman was just absolutely crazy. Because it's inbred in women to do the right thing. I was raised by a single mom. My dad left.
Yeah.
And a lot of the men in my life abandoned my mom and her kids, and she had to do it all by herself. And that void really exists. That's why being a great dad is so important to me. Yeah. Now you're just living on the legacy your dad left you.
100%, right.
But that's also beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's real value to that.
Yeah. The one thing that is a challenge is that, my dad raised a boy, right? So sports, fun, it's different now that I have to relate to girls. My dad was phenomenal, right? Like I said, he's always present, but I don't know that we always had the deeper conversations that I will need to have with my girls as they get older. I hear once they go to their teenage years, they don't really want to talk to their mom so much. So those are coming soon. But I'll be ready.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're already doing all the things you need to do. One of the things I say, and one of the things that makes me super proud of you, being a young guy who steps into the arena, who takes on a lot of responsibility. I mean, listen, we're going to talk about this, some of the benefit homes we're building together, the things that you've stepped up and done, which nobody else is willing to do, is that the reason why you do that.
Yeah.
Now, this is the world according to Dan. I want younger men to practice adversity, like to take on more responsibility, to do more stuff, so that they're voluntarily accepting adversity.
Right.
So when then adversity shows up involuntarily, they're ready.
Got it.
Because listen, we are currently in the middle of building our second benefit home.
That's right.
Our first one came with a lot of challenges.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into that and let's talk about what is a benefit home and how did you get involved in that? And then I'm going to tell my story behind that.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to brag.
No, I somehow I met a guy named Russ Bamer, and somehow I wound up at a breakfast coffee with him, and he had this idea saying, "Hey, Brian, why don't we just build a home? Let's call the local vendors and trade partners and say, hey guys, we want to build a home. We want to build it as cost effectively as possible. And then we want to sell it for as much money as humanly possible, right? And then we'll use those proceeds to fund our operating budget for the year or however long Russ spends his money." But, when Russ told me that, I mean, obviously that's what Commence does. And I had just done this men's group as I was part of. And one thing that will stay with me forever too is rejecting passivity. It's something I say a lot, and maybe you've heard it before, but when you see a challenge, it's so easy to say, hey, I can't help you. But when you're passive, you get lazy, you fall into boyish traps, right? Like you video games. Like I know a bunch of guys that are 45 playing video games. It's like, what are you doing? So I said, look, I'm gonna do this. We can do this. We've never done it. We'll figure it out. Let's go. So we started our first benefit home with your help as well, and went well until the very end. The neighbor dug a swimming pool unpermitted. There's a long story. We don't have to get into it, but the goal of the benefit home was to make homemade as much money as possible, and I think we made I think 6 figures on it.
We did.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
So I treated homemade just like another commenced customer. There were a couple more conversations than normal, but it was business as usual, and it really wasn't a big deal. So you guys honored me. I kind of unnecessarily, right? I was just doing my job. In my opinion, just was the first guy to say, yeah, I'll figure it out. So it's really nothing abnormal in my mind. That's why I'm always dumbfounded when you guys, you gave me the nice guitar and everything. It was very thoughtful, but in my mind, it was, I just said yes.
Right. Well, yes, you did. And let's tell the other side of that story. So I'm on the board of directors for Homemade America. And the mission of Homemade America is to end homelessness here in Central Florida.
Right.
And we were looking to do a benefit house. And my friend Seth Lewis is the one that actually found you, who's also an amazing young man with a big heart. And we couldn't get any of the local builders to do it. Everyone was too afraid. As a matter of fact, like we have private builders that their family owns it. They do a lot, but they were afraid because what about the risks? What about?
Yeah.
And you stepped up and said, I'll be first. Now, listen, I know you're being very humble here.
Sure.
But you have to, number one, take some major discounts. You took no fee.
Correct.
So you did it for free.
Yep.
You took on all the responsibility.
Right.
And don't forget, your parent company does what again?
The slab, block, and frame
for all the other builders.
Correct.
So if this blows up and goes terrible, nothing but egg on Brian Montgomery's head.
That's fair.
And you stood up for it. And you said, yeah, I'll do it. And not only did you say I'll do it, but I'll do it for free. And I'll get all my friends to do it for free. I'll use my influence to get them to do it at free or discounts.
Right.
So we built a house for roughly less than half of its cost.
That's right.
And then we were able to resell it. And that money was able to be poured back into our community to help homeless people that are being human trafficked all throughout Central Florida. So $150,000 is multiplied to become maybe $400,000 or $500,000 in good that happened in our community.
That's awesome.
And it sounds great. But let's circle back to this little swimming pool you talked about. So what actually happened is we built a house.
Yep.
It's a beautiful house. It's now sold. The family that's in it is fantastic. There's a story behind that too. The neighbor next door decided that he was going to clear the lot and build a house and then ran out of money.
Right.
And what happened is one of the hurricanes came through. And when the hurricane came through, it dumped a bunch of water there and created a swimming pool, but it actually turned into a small lake.
Yep.
With fish in it.
Yes.
Like real fish.
100%.
Frogs, all kinds of stuff. And there was the reality of the city is saying, nothing I can do to help you. Can't get a permit. Your water, there's a waterway too close to your septic tank.
That's right.
So everybody said, can't be done. And Brian, Jim, his leadership team came together, and I was involved because I was the investor. I funded it, and came to me and said, Dan, don't worry about it. We're going to figure it out.
Yep.
And the strength behind that, Dan, we're going to figure it out, was so real to me that I actually didn't worry about it. No. I was like, well, it's done. I visited the site once, saw the fish, and said, okay, this thing, I'm going to take care of it. And the lengths that your team was willing to go to make it happen, that's, if you're saying like, hey, Dan, let's talk about commence on your podcast. This is it.
Sure.
This is, okay, Dan, we're going to dig a trench. We're going to shoot the water into another trench.
Yep.
We're going to build a trench that goes all the way around the neighborhood if we have to. It was whatever it takes. Because, you said it earlier, but then this is real life practice. We get shit done. There are no excuses.
Right.
Winners find a way to win.
Absolutely.
And to be on Brian's team, to be on this commence team, these Navy SEALs of doing it right, you have to find a way to win.
That's right.
And you know what? You found a way to win within 2 weeks of the problem being a problem.
Yeah. I was worried about that one, Dan, actually, but
Well, you were more worried about it because of it was for charity.
Yeah. It's like, well, I got to get Dan his money back.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this is normal business for you.
Sure.
But someone's got to be first.
Right.
And then you stood up and said, we're going to do it again. And we're in the process of doing that right now.
That's right.
And now what's going to happen is, I don't know, you know this, is Russ is talking to Homemade America, like the national brand of homemade.
Yeah.
And they're actually building a blueprint to start doing this all across the country.
Oh, wow.
And it all started with a 29-year-old guy who was vice president on Tuesday, comes to work on Wednesday.
Yeah,
You're now the president. And let's go, right?
That's it.
An entrepreneurial guy who believes in the philosophy of take chances,
Yep.
be calculated, take chances, do the best things you can do, and good will come from it.
Yeah.
So there will be people all across the United States who will live in a shelter because of your efforts.
That's awesome.
Because of your team's efforts. So don't take that lightly. You didn't just do what you always done. You did something that no one's ever done.
Right.
And own that.
I appreciate
and sit in that for a
Thank
minute.
you.
Because you earned it, of course.
Yeah.
So that's your involvement in Homemade. We're doing it again.
Yes.
You've committed to doing some other cool stuff. That's amazing. And it doesn't come without its headaches.
Right.
But at the end of all those headaches is a child that's going to have their dignity returned to them. There's going to be a mom that has diapers for their kid. There's going to be so many wonderful things that comes from Homemade, right?
100%. That's what makes it all worth it, Dan. I mean, we're like, again, the passivity thing. There are so many problems here that we can, if everyone just dove in, we could solve so many of them. Like you mentioned, the diaper bank. I was fortunate enough to meet the lady that started the diaper bank of Central Florida, and we started a group called the Winter Garden 100, which is 100 men that each contribute $100 each quarter, and we give away $10,000 to local charities. And I remember when she spoke, she said, "I was down to my last diaper for my daughter, and I had this feeling that I didn't want any other woman to feel the way I feel right now." So she started the Diaper Bank of Central Florida, and it's now probably, I don't know the facts, but it's probably one of the largest ones in Florida. So you're right. It's just the small little ripple effect of helping someone out, and it just touches so many other people.
Yeah, Russ and his team at Homemade America are actually doing a diaper drive that starts on Mother's Day, ends on Father's Day.
I think so.
Yep. And then their goal this year is, I think, to raise 1 million diapers, to get 1 million diapers. And what they do is they get with local businesses, and the businesses compete to see who's going to be the champ.
Commence might win.
Oh, you better watch out. They're coming in strong. And the beautiful thing behind that competition is, I know this because my mom experienced it, is single moms or moms that are struggling, they have to make a decision. Diapers, or do I eat today? Not the children. They always feed the children.
Right.
Do I eat today? Yeah. And on the other end of that struggle, the end of the competition is we're returning dignity to that mom today. Sure. Could you imagine, your child is crying, and the reason why your child is crying is because they're sitting in a soiled diaper.
No, I can't.
And as a mom, you can't do anything to fix it. No. You can't afford to solve the problem. And then the lack of dignity that woman must feel, that's like one of our missions, is to return dignity to people.
Sure.
And it's not always about the person that's living on the street. Obviously, we hate that.
Right.
But if we can help her, she's one step away from being on the street now.
Right.
Can't afford diapers, like rent, utilities. Yeah. Like those are the things. So it's a challenge. So I love what we're doing together. So
that's awesome.
Let's switch gears back and talk more about this amazing business you've built here in Central Florida.
Sure.
And your vision of the future.
Yeah, future. A lot of our investors right now particularly are asking me, "Hey, Brian, what's going on with the market? What's going to happen in a couple months?" And, if I knew the answer to that, I probably wouldn't be here, Dan. I'd probably be on a yacht that's bigger than Jeff Bezos's. The market's uncertain, but markets are efficient. If it's slowing down, it'll pick back up. The plan for Commence is to start 350 houses this year.
Okay.
I think it might include some regional expansion. Luckily, my parent company, ODC, is already in the Carolinas, Charlotte, and other surrounding areas. So we have maybe our first customer up there. So Commence might be heading into North Carolina relatively soon, but that's on the horizon. And the beauty of the Commence model is it could be franchised, right? You can almost transplant this model into any market. Somewhere in, Dallas is a big one. It could be franchised out. So who knows? In 5 years, we might be in Texas, we might be in Georgia, North Carolina. But right now, it's slowing down a little bit, right? It's just kind of get through this storm, and survive. But definitely growth is on the horizon. I'm encouraged by my parent company to grow the business. Tony has empowered me to make the decisions to grow the business. So I want to keep growing Commence. We started from one contract to, now, 308 last year. So the sky, I think, is the limit, as long as we're lucky enough to keep hiring the right people that believe in the culture and believe in doing the right thing. I think we're fine.
Right. Well, the numbers say that this is still a good play, no matter what, because number one is Florida, North Carolina, too, has got a tremendous amount of people that are continuing to move here.
Right.
We're not seeing, like California and some other states that are seeing continual loss of population. We are increasing in population. And you're not built. I mean, you can build a home anywhere. These are infilled homes. And I need you to explain later what a fee builder is. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But you're building in places that are specifically looking for expansion.
Correct.
So like a lot is in Ocala, that
Correct.
Ocala area. You're down in Sebring off 27.
Yeah.
You're in Northport, and these are all growth spots.
Right.
So, and you're building a home that's different than a Pulte, a Richmond, a Toll Brothers, like these guys. You're building at a different process, but you're building in the same areas because you're seeing they're looking at the same data you are.
That's right.
Ocala and the Highway 27 area of Polk County are the number one growth areas in the state of Florida, but also some of the number one growth areas in the country.
Right.
So what do you see going on in those areas, and what are your plans just here in Florida? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So in Florida, it's kind of, Wayne Gretzky said, or Michael Scott said, he said it, kind of skate to where the puck is going. Right.
That's where it is.
Right. So it's, trying to find the next pocket, right? Like we were up in Marion Oaks 5 years ago, right? And we were one of the few builders up there. We've probably built 300 houses in Marion Oaks, but now the lot prices are way too much. So it's where are we going next, right? So you start to look into Inverness, you look into Citrus Springs, Citrus Hills, Homosassa. So it's looking to the next, pocket of land where the lots are affordable and you can actually get labor to show up to the job site. That's a big thing. It's funny you mentioned Sebring. We stumbled on that. One of our investors said, "Hey, come, let's play golf down here. I'm thinking about building some houses here." And lo and behold, we have a Sebring division. But it's really up to the investors. I can encourage them, say, "Hey, look, I think Lehigh Acres," that's probably a bad example, but lots are cheap. That's the next move, right? Are you in or are you out? And it's staying ahead. As much as I love the production guys, they're my livelihood, through ODC and everything, but we got to stay ahead of those guys. Lennar hopped into Marion Oaks, recently. DR Horton's there now too, so we can't compete with those guys. So we have to find the next market.
Right. Well, that's what you're going to do.
100%.
And the crazy thing is, the next market is sometimes can circle itself back around,
right,
because those guys will leave. And you are. Let's explain this in more detail.
Yeah.
You are a fee builder.
That's
so what
right.
does that mean?
Sure. So a lot of the general contractors charge, they call it cost plus. So they say, "Hey, Dan, at the start of this project, it's going to cost $200,000. I want 10%, $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
If at the end the $200,000 becomes $220,000, now they want 10% of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get more money. And we said, well, if the cost of lumber goes up, that's not fair to my investor. Like, it's not their fault commodity pricing went up. So we said, let's charge a flat fee. Our fee never changes, and our fee encapsulates everything that I mentioned before. We get the building permit for you. We handle all the accounts payables along the way. So all the lien releases, partials and finals. We build the house from, when most of our investors buy the parcel, it's a fully wooded lot. Half the time there's no utilities there, right? But we clear the lot, we bring the utilities in, and when we are done, we turn over, a finished home with a set of keys.
And from what I'm seeing now, you guys have relationships with local real estate agents. So you've got them selling the homes for you.
Correct.
You've got warranty companies that are managing it. So from what I'm hearing, and I know this to be true because I get to look into your business a little bit.
Yep.
Some of your folks are in other countries.
That's fair.
They literally wire their money in and they get a wire back 4 to 6 months, 8 months later for more money than they did.
That's right.
And the key to investing is simply this: I want my money to go out, make some friends, and come back.
Right. That's right.
And that's been what's happened over the last 5 years for you guys on a consistent basis.
Right.
So I love that. Now, let's talk more into like the details of this. So you only have a selection of homes. Somebody can't bring you and say, "Hey, I want to build this."
No, that's often we turn away a lot of business. That, "Hey, I found this plan on Pinterest or whatever," and it's like, "No, I'm sorry, we can't help you out." We have a set range of plans that are 1,300 square feet to now 3,400 square feet. We did the widths to fit on standard lot, like 50 foot, 60 foot, 70 foot, 80 foot lots. And really we build on infill lots, which are, throughout Florida, there's thousands of these lots where, there's roads, but there's not a sewer connection or a water connection. So a lot of septic and wells. But we build in infield lots primarily. Our investors purchase the lot, so they're the lot owner, and then they hire us as the business management agent to handle everything on that lot for them. Most of our customers sell retail, and actually a lot of our customers have started their own home building companies that they've just completely white labeled. They have our model renderings on their website, right? And I'm totally fine with that. Commence collects our fee. They make money and keep building with Commence. The lights stay on, right? But we'll build anywhere that ODC can go, really. As long as it makes sense mathematically for me to put a person there, if ODC is there doing the show, we'll do it.
Right, and that's the key, right?
Right.
So breaking that down,
Sure.
so if you own a piece of land,
Right.
or you can split some land that you're already on, you could actually build a house there.
100%.
Anywhere pretty much in Florida. Obviously, you're not going to go to the tips of Miami, maybe, and you may not go into the deep woods of the Panhandle, but
Correct.
you could.
We could.
If the need called for it,
Absolutely.
and you could build a business model around it, you do it.
Correct.
But pretty much, if it's a populated area in Central Florida and now moving into South Florida, all the way up through Ocala,
Right.
You could do it.
Absolutely.
And then if someone has a desire to be a developer, because I know them personally, these guys, we all run in the same circle. And
Yeah.
I'm not, without saying their names, there's a couple of guys that are like doing full on seminars, raising money,
Right.
and they're now creating, platforms of their own, and they're development companies, but they're using you to build everything.
Right.
So you've become their GC of
That's correct.
record.
That's right.
And you're just fee building for them.
That's
and,
it.
and you're charging them a flat fee. And they're marking these up. They're doing investment seminars.
Yeah.
They're building subdivisions. I mean,
Right.
I just saw that recently, 25 unit subdivisions.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunities here,
Correct.
including duplexes.
100%.
So-
go ahead.
No, please. So with that being said, I mean, this is an unbelievable opportunity. And what I love about it, as opposed to other opportunities that I've seen, is it's run by entrepreneurs.
Thanks.
This is not corporate.
Right. The real estate investment game is risky, right? That's, one thing I always tell people. I'm like, there is a chance you could lose money. I mean, statistically speaking, no. Given that we buy pretty well, and then my fee is de minimis, as they say, you pretty much have instant equity in the deal the second you get the CO. So, I mean, even if you had to fire sale your investment, you'd make $10,000 to $15,000 on it. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say that, but
Right.
the beauty of the Commence model is the second you close, you could even live in it if you want. You own it, you can do whatever you want with it. And you mentioned the guys that are developing, parcels, large tracts of land. They're the white label, like, I don't know if I can plug their website or whatever, but it's the xyzcapital.com of the world, where it's Commence plans on their website, and we're doing all the work anyways.
Right. And so that opportunity exists for the next guy.
That's anybody, right?
Right. And you're opening the door to that. Now, that's not actually true, because I have seen you fire people. And that is because if they don't fit your cultural model, like, you don't want to work with them.
Right.
I mean, and that comes down from Tony.
That's right.
Tony lives that. You live that. If they abuse your staff, that's the last house you're building.
100%.
And that speaks back to earlier on. We encourage our people to make failures,
Right.
to make mistakes. We want them to succeed. We want them to grow up to be young, great leaders. But one of your non-negotiables is how you treat your people.
Yeah, it's been another core principle that's pasted on the wall at ODC. It's I think it says don't be a jerk, but when it's delivered by Tony and everyone else in the company, it's don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the world's full of smart, talented people that are just assholes, right? And nobody wants to work with those guys. And we're fortunate enough to have enough work that if someone's treating my team disrespectfully, or if they, if they're treating the team disrespectfully, then we don't need to do their homes anymore, right?
Right. Well, and the same's true from you, is that you expect your people to treat the investors and the
100%.
subcontractors
Right.
with nothing but respect. And
That's
just
right.
recognize, I got involved working with you a little bit here and there. And because I got this unique role, it allowed me to see Commence as an organization and the subcontractors. And the thing that separates Commence from everyone else is the relationship with the subcontractors. Right. They actually feel valued.
Yeah.
The septic guy actually sent me a message once and said, in 34 years of being involved in this business, no one has ever thanked me and sent me a gift.
Right.
I mean, and that starts, they say a fish stinks from the head down.
Right.
That starts with leadership.
Right.
The reason why, your staff, your team is sending gifts to others is because you're sending gifts to your staff.
Right.
It's the way in which you treat your people as now that permeates out to your subcontractors.
Right.
And that permeates back out to your investors and your clients and handling warranty issues and all of those things that come up later.
Yeah.
That's the culture.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you leadership determines culture.
You're right. We have quarterly meetings where I always bring everybody from the team together. And one thing I've stressed is we will not be the company that So we have quarterly meetings where I bring everybody on the team together, and I've stressed every meeting, we will not be the company that bosses subcontractors around. We won't yell at people. We won't scream at people. We won't mistreat the people that help us build this investment for our customers. If you want to hem and haw and do things the old-fashioned way, you're not a Commence employee.
Yeah, I love that. You don't fit that culture.
Right.
And I mean, to put a bow on that.
Sure.
And I don't want you to say any names.
Sure.
And I know of it.
Yeah.
What percentage of your employees, team members, and subcontractors have invested with you?
Yep, that's a great question. I'm one of them. I'm very lucky that I'm able to build Commence homes. I'm fortunate that they allow me to do it. I'd probably say 40 to 50%.
So 50% of the people that work at Commence or ODC, have probably built or invested
in one way or another. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So isn't that crazy? So, here on my team, I'm always looking for those opportunities. And that's something I'm thinking I might do next year is I might go in and say, okay, as an organization here, we're going to build a house with Commence. Yeah. We're going to sell it, or we're going to do some great investing together. I like it because I'm a sales guy. I don't understand the intricacies. I don't fix things. These hands are made for Lululemon. Okay, let's be honest. I would love to bring my team in and say, okay, if you've got $5,000, that's your piece. Yeah, if you've got $20,000, that's your piece. And when we win, then you get to multiply that.
Right.
And I'd eventually like to build so many houses that I can actually step out and they're doing it all on their own.
Correct.
And they're learning investing along the way.
Absolutely.
They're involved in intricacies of it. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the reason why you do what you do. You know, they used to say the American dream was owning a home.
Right.
And when I think about the American dream and how beautiful it is, my grandfather came here from Ireland.
Nice.
My daughter's here from Venezuela. So when you look in their eyes and you talk about the American dream, it's a world of wonder. It's bigger than a home.
Right.
The American dream, in my opinion, is bigger than 3.5% down on a $300,000 house. That's $10,000.
Right.
For $10,000, you can have the American dream.
Yeah.
I think American dream is owning a business. And when you become an investor, you own a business.
That's right.
So when you can give someone the ability to access the American dream of owning a business and being an investor, that's
powerful.
That's powerful. And that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's, one of the hardest things to building a home is, raising the capital. So at work, teams of people have actually pooled together their cash, right? Built a home, sold it. And after you do it 3 times, 4 times, you're playing with house money, right? You already got your initial principal back. And if you want to finish, then pull out and take your money. But if you want to keep going, that's how you expand wealth, is by exponential growth. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So the people reading the Rich Dad, Poor Dad right now for the first time, here's your chance.
100%. Make your money work for you, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And that's that cash flow quadrant, right? Yep. And we'll talk about that. I'll put that in the show notes so people can look at that. Mm-hmm. So Brian, let's talk back. Let's just finish up here with, for you, you see the Orlando real estate market has softened. Yeah. So that's probably slowed down a little or not? So your business.
I think what we're seeing now is, homes are sitting on market a lot longer than they were. I mean, but 45, 60 days, which is typically a normal market, maybe a bit longer. But what we're seeing now is a lot of customers looking for rate buy downs. Mm-hmm. What are you going to give me, Dan? Are you going to give me $15,000 off, or are you going to give me a 2-1 buy down, something like that? So we've had to adapt. Luckily, a good buddy of mine, Rob DeJory at Bolt Mortgage, check him out. He put together a rate buy down program, and we've been successful with that in the past month. We put flyers in all the homes and, say this is a spring sale effective 4/30, moving the inventory, and try to put some urgency into it, but buying down the rates so that homes can be affordable. I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now is, when I first bought my house, my rate was, 6.25%, but it was a $200,000 mortgage, right? Now it's a $400,000 and something mortgage. It's just not affordable or sustainable. So that's what we've been doing. And a lot of our customers have either been giving concessions on closing costs, or, hey, maybe put the LVP flooring in all the bedrooms for free, put a fence up. So it's kind of a buyer's market where they can push us around a little bit. But we're still seeing homes move. Marion Oaks is still doing well. Northport's a little slower than other areas. Palm Bay is, I thought it was dead, but it's resurging. So we're seeing homes sit. Investors are a little worried. We have a lot of homes with approved building permits on them where our customers are saying, hey, I need to sell this house first, and then I'll start this one. So that's affecting the business a little bit. But overall, I'm fortunate enough to work in the ODC office, so I see the starts that they're given by the production builders. And I can say that halfway through April, they have 850 starts in the month of April. So it's coming back. I'm encouraged by that. I'd like to see our homes move quicker, obviously, so my investors get their money back and build more with us. But I'm not overly concerned, but I'd like to see homes move a bit quicker.
Yep. So what you're saying in economic terms is you've seen a flattening of the market.
That's fair.
The market was kind of going up.
Yeah.
Build a house,
Sell
put it for $5,000 more than the last house you
100%.
built another house, $5,000.
Yeah.
And you kept doing that. And the production builders were doing it too.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing it. And then what happened is the market became unaffordable. The government saw that inflation was a problem,
Right.
and they raised the interest rates to slow down buying.
Correct.
We didn't listen. we kept doing
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
And then we got creative. And what actually happened is that retail sellers started to feel the pain, not builders. This has been the season of the builder, and we're still in it.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking I would buy an investment property, hold it, and then resell it, actually build a home, hold it, and resell it, because you can offer what others can't,
Right.
which are rate buy downs,
Correct.
which are these things, because you have the margin.
100%.
And that's the key to that, is
Yeah.
understanding that. And then, what's my alternative? I mean, listen, if I want to invest, the reason why we invest is to make a return.
Correct.
Well, the S&P 500 just took a 10-point hit
Right.
in a week. Then it went up by 4%, then back down by 3%. I personally am in the S&P big.
Yeah.
I saw a loss one day that made me go home and get in bed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping we'd sign a lot of contracts that week, Dan. It was
Yeah. Well, I did go home and get in bed.
Yeah.
But listen, investing is not about what you right now.
Right.
It's a get rich slow process.
That's right.
And so even if someone had to hold a home, that's good.
Sure.
And I've heard, I get to speak to your sales team a lot too. And I've heard that you guys are starting to look for alternatives for holds. Okay.
Correct.
So if now you want to hold it, here's a refinance product that you can now refinance it, get your cash out.
That's right.
Put it into your rental pool, and move forward.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, one more quick one here.
Sure.
Is a million years ago, I got to represent banks and liquidate their foreclosure properties.
Right.
And I got to liquidate properties in Point Siena, Florida, which was like the furthest south you could go, right?
100%.
And there was, houses built with, the streets not completed. There's movies made about this where there's they were supposed to build 250 houses. There's 35 houses
Right.
that are completed, never sold. And people came down from the north, investors, seasoned investors. They came down, they bought them
Scooped them up.
for $50,000, $70,000. And you know what they did? They didn't even rent them. They boarded them up,
Right.
held them for 5 years,
Right.
sold them for $250,000.
100%. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So real estate is one of those deals where if you just wait, you don't
100%.
lose until you sell.
Right.
So if your exit plan is quick, you may not always get that.
Correct.
But if you're thinking long term, you're not going to lose on a new construction home.
That's fair.
You
I
agree with that?
I do. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that has to happen sometimes, but or convert what you thought was going to be a sale to a rental property if you can, right? We've had a couple people do that, built in Silver Spring Shores, which who knew where that existed. But anyways, we've had folks that say, hey, this house isn't moving. I'm just going to rent it.
Yeah.
So, that's the beauty of the commence model. There are, in my mind, there's a couple exit strategies. One, sell it for retail as much as you can. Two, rent it out. Three, fire sale it for what you got into it. Kind of hurt the comps, but if you're that concerned about your money, you can get your money back. That's the beauty of it. That's how I sold my parents on becoming commence investors. It's like, look, guys, there's so much equity in this deal that, let's say the world stops spinning, you can sell it for what you bought the lot for and what you've got into it, and no problem. You'll get your money back.
Right. Well, you've not had a hard time convincing people when you talk about like sold your parents on it. It was because you wanted your parents to benefit from the upsides of the opportunity, and you saw it.
Yeah, 100%. And we actually it's bittersweet. We sold our final house together, actually closed last week. They're going to do something more conservative and just kind of, they're a bit older, not too old, but we're dissolving our LLC that we formed together, and we'll still be friends.
They'll be back. Don't worry.
I know they got the itch, Dan. So
yeah. Well, I love that. So if somebody wants to, engage you or your team and build a house, like if they locating a lot. Well, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Brian. I'm a real estate sales guy and I've never bought land before. So I actually found a lot.
Yeah.
I called your sales guy and said, "Is this a good lot?"
Right.
The first one, he said, "No, that's a terrible lot. Don't do that." And then I called then I got another one. I said, "Is this a good lot?" And he said, "That's a great lot. We can build a house on that." So someone doesn't even need that level of expertise. They got to find a lot, but your team will even help them figure that out.
Right. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll send one of our field managers by and they'll walk the lot. Right. So one of the big no-nos is you don't want any gopher tortoises on a lot. You don't want any burrowing owls, endangered species. You don't want a lot that slopes too much because then you got to spend a lot of money on dirt. So our guys will actually walk the lot. They'll send you photos of the lot and give you kind of a thumbs up or thumbs down. I mean, if we were bad people, we'd say, "Yeah, Dan, that lot's great. Why don't you buy it? No problem." And we'd say yes to everything, but we'd end up apologizing more times than not, and we probably wouldn't be in business.
Right. So that's step one is you got to locate a lot.
Right.
And you can do that with Commence or on your own.
Correct. We have good partners that actually find lots, and they actually do the environmental testing and everything. So we typically have lots available if anybody's interested.
So there's an inventory of lots available right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first step is get the lot. You got a few ways to do it. Find it yourself.
Correct.
Run it by your team, or you'll connect them with one of your partners on that.
100%.
Okay. Then the next step is decide which elevation you want to build, the model.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then there's a level of due diligence, right?
Correct.
So you're going to look at the comps. Do you have someone kind of in-house that says if you build that, it should sell for, or how's that work?
We do. Based on the data we've collected over the past 5 years, and we've seen those prices go up, luckily. But we know what model sells for what in what location. We use Zonda quite a bit, which is helpful. But yeah, we're happy to give our recommendation based on the comps. We also look at, hey, we're building in this area, and recently we've built 5 of these models. Let's not put a 6th one there. Let's try this model because I know it'll get this, and you'll be the only one of these here, right? Like we don't want to just keep pumping the same model into it. That's one thing, it was a mistake I made in, probably 2020. I kept selling the same house. So if you go to Marion Oaks, for example, there's 110 1990 models there. It's like,
is that the entry level house?
It's our best seller actually. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's a beautiful house. It's my favorite. That's why I was pushing it so hard. But it works and it's the most cost effective. The economies of scale there are great. And it sells for a good price. But we just built too many of them. And so that's if anyone watching on my team, that's where I messed up. Like I flooded Marion Oaks with 1990s.
Well, you don't have anybody complain. It seems like they sold them all.
I know.
They made their money.
Yeah, 100%.
They're enjoying their vacations thanks to Brian Montgomery and Commence Logistics. Yeah. And you know what? Nobody's complaining in Marion Oaks because there's too many of those there either. So maybe you were actually dumb lucky on that one.
I think I've been dumb lucky on a lot of stuff, Dan.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So now we're going to determine that, and then. Have you been able to nail down any type of financing yet, or where are we at on that? Or is this always got to be cash?
So that's the hardest part, right? A lot of new real estate investors that want to do it, there's a barrier of entry. If you want to get a hard money loan from a construction financing company, typically they say, hey, you need to have 5 builds on your resume. You have to have done this 5 times, which is impossible because, hey, I don't have the money to do one. How have I done it 5 times? There are some banks out there that one of my teammates is talking to, and different financiers in place looking for like that 100% financing. It's tough, and you pay more for it, right? Kind of intra-company, we pooled some cash together and created our own lending kind of platform, which was very favorable for both parties. And when we introduced that, the money flew out. Like we had 15 loans committed in 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So that money's out. It's coming back in as the homes close. But if there's anybody watching that can make construction financing easy, there is an enormous market for people who need financing that haven't built a house 5 times. Right. They will build a house 5 times if you just give them that one chance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Love that. And now So then it's cash or develop
Cash
some
or loan.
financing,
Yeah.
pull some stuff. And
Correct.
And your team can kind of walk people through that.
Yeah, we have lenders we work with, but the thing with them is, either you have the track record or you have to come out of pocket, right? Like most people can afford a lot, right? I've got $40,000, but if I've got to come out 25% loan to cost, I don't have that other 25% to make that gap.
Yep.
Right. So capital is the crunch.
Okay.
Yep.
So then that's the next step in the process.
Yeah.
Then after that, you've selected it. Now it's got to be built.
Correct.
And that's really where your investors kind of sit back and wait.
100%.
And then average build time, 4 to 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, depending on the municipalities. Yeah, I mean, in Marion Oaks, now we're down to, a guy just built one in 89 days.
Okay.
Set company records, that's good. But I'd say on average in the more, the areas that were pretty well known were about 5 months.
Okay.
The west coast of Florida is a real challenge with both the municipalities and the labor pool.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've built some homes on the west coast of Florida that, we'll never build for that investor again, right? We screwed up too many times. But that cycle time is coming down to like 6-7 months.
So, fair to say 4 to 7 months.
Sure. But,
okay.
Yeah. But then you also have the permitting time as well, which again varies drastically by municipality.
So if I gave you my money today,
Yeah.
What would be the time for me to get a
Yeah.
garden variety home built?
Yeah. So typically I'd say 8 months.
Okay. So
Yeah.
8 months. And then now it's got to, if you want to sell it, now you
Yeah.
got to sell it. And you have a team of real estate agents that don't work for you
Right.
that you refer to. I actually don't, because
Right.
I do some other functions within the company and help you out. So I don't go in that side, maybe
Right.
one day.
Yeah.
But you've got some great real estate agents,
Right.
and I'm going to vouch for them. I mean, I get to see the behind the scenes. I get to access leadership of the organization, and I get to see the sales agents, and they're fantastic, actually really good.
Yeah.
So then you can either use one of your kind of preferred agents,
Yeah, absolutely.
and which are vetted just like your subcontractors are. And
100%.
these guys recognize, like, if you don't do a great job, we're not going to refer you anymore.
Right.
And you guys aren't collecting like referral fees or anything.
Not
You're
at
just
all.
doing
And
it.
It's funny that you mentioned too, like the you're talking about the vetting process, right? Like we've established this relationship with realtors and brokers who are also Commence customers, right? But they have local realtors in every market calling them saying, hey, do you have any more of those 1990s? Or I'm looking for a 2478. Do you have any of those available? So they have a good reputation. I'm super proud of our homes. You've walked in them too. When you walk into a Commence house, I think it's absolutely beautiful for a Marion Oaks or a Northport lot, even a downtown Winter Garden lot for what it's worth. I think they're beautiful homes. And when potential buyers walk into our house compared to a XYZ production home, I think there's a wow factor, and that's what helps us sell homes for typically a bit more money than what the local or the national guys are selling for.
Love that. And
Yeah.
then so the last step here is get it sold,
Yep.
get it going. And because of the structure of a fee builder,
Yeah.
that entity that has to be formed to build this home, they're technically the builder,
They're the owner, correct?
the owner.
Mhm.
And so there's a warranty that's attached to this.
100%.
And you guys facilitate all of that too.
Right.
And there's a 1-year warranty and then a 7-year warranty, and you facilitate all of that. It's insurance backed.
Correct.
So they're legitimately out of the loop.
Right.
If the first conversation is with sales, usually the last conversation, there might be 2 or 3 around funding or other things.
Yep.
And then it's okay. You got your CO. It's get it sold. You'll help out, but you don't control that. You don't care if they make a lot of money. They can do what they want with it.
Right.
And you step away and let them do their thing.
Right.
And then they're on their way. And the hope is that they come back and do it again.
100%. Yeah.
And it's really kind of almost like a turnkey process.
That's it. That's
Love
what we
that.
wanted to create. Turnkey process, make it as easy as possible for everybody.
Love it.
There is one step that we miss, and it's everyone's favorite, where you get to pick your colors.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
the interior finishes.
The interior finishes. It's funny. There's a woman on my team. She's in accounts payable. One day she came to me. She's like, I have an interior design degree, right? And I was like, well, I probably should have saw that on your resume. But
You're promoted.
you're 100%. So, she and another guy on the team, most investors are like, dude, I don't care. You pick. But we have 2 very talented folks on the team that put the exterior paint packages together. The inside looks awesome. They're very talented and they put out some good stuff. But some people want to go to a showroom. Like most people don't, but every now and then someone's like, Brian, I want to put like $10,000 worth of tile in this house. I'm like, well, I probably wouldn't do that, but okay, it's your money. And we can do that too, right? So if they want to go to the showroom that our flooring vendor has, then they can do that as well.
Wonderful. Love that.
Yeah.
So, that's the process.
Yep.
What a beautiful company. What a way to get involved. And what I like best about you, Brian, is you tie in family, your family.
Yep.
your business is your family as well.
That's right.
And then you're doing really well. I mean, you're doing well as an individual investor. You're doing well as a businessman. And now you're taking that success and you're trying to end homelessness here in Central Florida through the things you're doing. You're involved in the Winter Garden 100 plus. Right. So, I mean, what a great investment. You know, what I say is I don't invest in things. I invest in people. Yep. And, you know, one of the things that before I invested is I came and walked around your office and I started talking to the accounts people. I started talking because I wanted to see if what you were selling me was real and validated as true. And that's why I asked you to be on here. You know, you're a millionaire in so many ways. You're a millionaire dad. You're a millionaire businessman. You're a millionaire leader. And that's what this is all about. Whole life millionaire. So if somebody wanted to engage you and do business with you at any level, how would they do that?
So the best way would be to go to our website, which is commencebuilds.com. It's plural. There's different sections in there where you can, you know, reach out and contact us, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, which is just Brian Montgomery. It's a very flattering photo, you know.
Love that. And we'll link all of that to the show notes so you have that. Well, Brian, it's been a complete honor having you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should ask you?
Oh, maybe my favorite sports team, but I think I mentioned that with my University of Florida reference earlier.
Yes. So. you might actually be losing some customers.
No,
with
you're
that.
right. I also like every Florida college or
there
university.
You go. There you go. Well, exactly.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being part of this.
Thanks for having me.
And if you've been moved by what Brian's talked about and you would like to partner with Commence on building a house, or you're an amazing trader, know somebody that'd like to work with them, or even join his company, you know how to do it. We're going to leave all the information in the show notes. You know, the reason why I started this podcast is because there's this idea that success and wealth is about those people, but those people are us. You know, I grew up product of a single mom, didn't have a lot of opportunities, and everybody can be a millionaire at something. Everybody has genius. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show or something you said moved you, would you make a comment below and like and share? Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you all for watching today.
Thanks, Dan. It's been awesome.
My pleasure.